are back on the second stage. I haven't mentioned this in a couple of hours now, so maybe I'll just quickly say that I'm Jon Krohn. If you haven't been following along all afternoon on the second stage already, I'm chief data scientist and co-founder at a company called Nebula, but I think I'm most known publicly as host of Super Data Science, the world's most listened to data science podcast. And yeah, there's been 3 iterations of ScaleUp AI, and it is my 3rd time hosting sessions here at ScaleUp AI. So thank you, Insight Partners, for inviting me yet again. It's always a lot of fun. And yeah, so here we are closing things off on the second stage today with a session on revolutionizing workflow automation with low-code and no-code tools. I've got immediately to my right Sanjay Gidwani, who is the COO of Copado, and to his right is Sobhan Daliry, who is the Pipefy Chief Product Officer. So we'll start off with Sanjay, again, COO of Copado, which is described as AI-powered DevOps for business applications. Tell us more about Copado, particularly with respect to how Copado is advancing low-code, no-code platforms.
Great. Well, thanks, John. Great to be here today. Excited to be here at ScaleUp AI. And one of the things that we've recently launched this past September at Salesforce's Dreamforce is our Copado AI platform. And the Copado AI platform is 5 what we're calling super agents that goes across the DevOps cycle. So starting with plan all the way through build, through test, release, and operate. And these agents are there to help our customers deliver the Salesforce platform faster. Helping with user stories from the plan, helping you develop code, as well as helping with release notes. All the key things that you need to do, helping accelerate that delivery.
Very nice. And Sobhan, then at Pipefy, where you're Chief Product Officer, you have described as a real no-code solution to me when we were talking before this session. Why do, in your view, so many no-code solutions out there not live up to the promise of their name?
Hi, thanks, John. Thanks for being here as well. So here at Pipefy, we've been developing this tool really focusing on the citizen developers. So they're our main focus into organizations. We do believe that we can drive transformations into business basically by giving the power for those that are closest to the problem. So that's why Pipefy is being developed, really focused on those guys. I guess like many no-code platforms, they're trying to empower organizations to be faster, and they empower somehow like IT departments by giving power to less savvy or less senior people. But we do believe like the potential, it's really into business areas. So when we see an HR analyst building a whole workflow, impressionism, and creating a really valuable asset into their department, we really see them as an entrepreneur with the right to getting the power to really drive transformation within an organization.
Excellent. It sounds exciting. Let's go back to you, Sanjay, and talk about something that's probably on the mind of a lot of our listeners, a lot of attendees of ScaleUp AI, which is that they want to be building AI applications, scaling them up, but there's a big crunch for talent to develop data and AI applications. So how does the AI itself in a solution like Copado impact the teams responsible for delivering digital transformation and allow them to have some efficiencies?
So, that's one of the things that we hold near and dear at Copado is the way that we look at AI is helping the human beings focus on the most complex problems. Because one of the things that I've always said is the human brain is probably the greatest computer that's ever been created, and I don't think anything will ever match the human brain. So how do we help our customers get more productive, right? So when you think about talent and the ability to deploy less people with the same backlog, what we believe is, hey, with AI, you can help accelerate the delivery of what you need to do while having the human beings focus on the most complex problems.
Very cool. And do you have some examples there of how the AI can actually streamline things, like some concrete examples?
So one thing I can give you 3 really good examples.
Sounds
one,
great.
onboarding, right? So how do you onboard brand new team members, right? How do you get them up to speed very quickly, right? So with AI and being able to use the Copado AI platform, put the right documentation in there, the speed to delivery for two new team members is accelerated. Second is testing. Testing is probably our oldest agent and where we've got the most experience, right? So being able to create the test classes, being able to create any tests just based upon the user stories and the data in the system helps eliminate the manual data entry. And then communication is another core piece to it, right? So when you're building any application, you need to be able to communicate what you've built, right? Because at the end of the day, who are you building the applications for, John? Right?
Right.
Business users, right?
Yeah.
So they need to be able to understand what you've built, what's coming in the release, and those release notes and those communications, as you have all the data within the system, helps accelerate that. So those like three areas are where we really shine when it comes to really helping focus on productivity.
Very nice. I love concrete examples. I'm sure lots of our audience members do as well. Sobhan, relatedly to this idea of increasing productivity with AI, all enterprises yearn for productivity gains from AI, but there's a gap to knowing what to deploy and actually realize those theoretical gains. How can enterprises succeed?
Great question. So when we look at the tools that empower the business organizations within the business departments, and one thing worth mentioning is Pipefy, it's being able to deploy over 3 million workflows already, and over 70% of them were built by really non-savvy, non-techy people. It's a super, I guess, it's a data that actually assures that we're building in the right direction. I think one of the main challenges here is usually the big problem, it's made of smaller problems, and those problems may be happening in different departments. So when we go into organizations and we help them to really drive the digital transformation that our platform enables them, we see that maybe a problem on HR, it's something related to some PTO or anything like this. It will go to like different departments that enable this problem to be solved. And how we see this happening in our teams, in our clients, is usually someone in a small department, they start using, sometimes like purchasing the license with their own credit card, and they start solving a problem, and it's like almost like a virus. It is spread within the organization because there's not a single workflow within a department that doesn't have interfaces with other departments. So the way we see the product thriving and the transformation happening, it's by empowering the last mile of the organization and then having the governance to connect the dots and make like smaller problems together to be bigger problems solved within the organization. So right now we're looking for this balance that have like IT teams helping and empowering the teams of like line of businesses to deploy the organization. And of course, AI here plays a major role. Our becoming agentic workflows. The previous workflows, which were like processes, now they are AI agents that works almost autonomously, but usually with some supervision of a human. So virtually every single workflow built in Pipefy, it's becoming an agent of a PTO, an agent of reimbursement, an agent for compliance teams, because they were processes built on top of a platform with no-code platform without a single line of code, with some reasoning architecture on top of each step of the process, and with the retrieval level of proprietary data from the organization built with the team that now works as an agent, an AI agent into companies. So basically now we have line of business people creating agents without even knowing they're creating agents.
Very nice. Sounds exciting. Sobhan, you've mentioned, let's go back to Sanjay actually with a question. We've talked now about having efficiencies happen. Where do you see the biggest opportunities for enterprises to adopt AI and get efficiencies?
So when we think about efficiencies, where we focus is in the software development lifecycle. That's where Copado has shined, and that's where we believe you'll be able to get the most efficiencies out of it. But if you zoom out and you take a step back and you start to look at what are the different use cases that are connected to software delivery, one great example that we've implemented internally is support. So if you think about the support function in an organization, that's always an input and an output to a potential problem in the software lifecycle. And when a customer, whether that's an internal customer, whether we're within an organization where you're delivering an internal tool, or an external customer, a customer that's using the software that you're providing, what you need to be able to do is decrease the amount of time that it takes to get back to the customer. Because holistically, the reason we build software is to help customers, internal, external, deliver some sort of business value. So that support process is that nexus between your system and those people. So what we've been able to do internally at Copado with our support organization is dramatically lower the cost per case that we need to execute with our customers. So in 2022, what we did was we said, hey, generative AI can really help in the support function. Because we want to make sure our customers have a great experience. At the same time, as we were growing, we didn't want to add a bunch of headcount into that organization. How do you manage that? We thought generative AI would be a great opportunity for us to be able to deliver that to our customers. So when we think about that use case, that's something that we've really seen help, and we've gone on to help us deliver our Copado GPT, which is in our success community. So before we even get a case, we're using generative AI to help our customers answer questions that might have come from a log file, or help them, with a merge conflict, so that we can provide the right experience for our customers.
Very nice. Back to you, Sobhan. You've mentioned to me that you think vendor-agnostic AI, so this is a topic that I've actually talked about in a number of other sessions earlier today, but we haven't brought up yet in this session. But you've mentioned to me that you think vendor-agnostic AI workflow platforms will be the most successful. Why do you think that is? Why is vendor agnosticism important in AI workflows?
Good. So basically, how we're working, since we come from a workflow background, it means that we have data around the subject matter of a workflow running through our system for 10 years, which means if John is creating a workflow, he knows exactly which kind of data he has access into this workflow. If he's creating a reimbursement, he knows that he may have access to the data of the reimbursement amount, place, and whatever was expended, but he cannot have access maybe to payment because this goes to financial team. Since we have this governance and control of the data, when we start delivering the promise of creating your own agents, we already have built in the data governance, which is a very critical thing into deploying AI applications, and this is built in our product. But then the magic of it comes from combining some foundational models with general knowledge with proprietary data. So what we do as being agnostic is that we provide the ability for the user to select multiple foundational models. If they want to work with some Cohere model or some OpenAI model, they can choose to work with them. They can choose even to work with their own account, so they can consume the tokens by their account, by their agreement with one of those vendors, or they can actually apply some tools on top of it. So the magic of it comes from a data governance in terms of a proprietary data that you can use. The foundational model that you can choose, that's why we're calling ourselves agnostic to the vendor of the LLM. So you can choose whatever vendor do you want. If it's a faster model like a GPT 4.0, or if you want to use a 01, which is a slower model, because we'll be reasoning in terms of the workflow. If the response delay, if it's a credit score, for example, you can wait for a few minutes or a second to get a proper response. You can choose in our system, in our deployment, whatever model you want to use with the proprietary data that you have, and you also, which could be this RAG layer of it, which you add enrichment, and you can also plug some tools like speech-to-text models or image recognition, so this combination of foundational model agnostic with tools agnostic and your proprietary data together, you build agents easily without having to think about how I'm going to choose the data, which is the model I want. we suggest and give you everything. This is about making things simpler. And this is important because I see a lot of people talking about simpleness, like this is simple, this is for the end user, but it's for us being for end user, it's for a way less savvier person than usually we talk about when we talk about like citizen developer.
Very nice answer. You nodded your head a lot, Sanjay, in that response. Do you have anything else to add, or?
Well, I think one of the things that you were bringing up was about that ease of use, right? How do you drive adoption from these things? And one of the areas that we're seeing, which I find really interesting, is the change management side of these things, right? There's lots of business processes that want to implement AI, and that shifting of, hey, I used to do it this way yesterday, now I have to do it this way today. I think in one of the sessions they mentioned for every $1 of AI, you should budget $5 for change management, right? It was a very interesting statistic that I learned today, and the way I look at it, and Copado looks at it, it's like, how do you integrate AI into the existing business processes, into the existing tools? And from what I'm learning here about your platform, you have the ability to do that, right? Through API and integration. And just like us, right? When you're using the Copado AI platform, we provide an API out of the box, right? And so what we've been able to do for our customers is integrate it with Slack, right? So you don't have to shift that experience of that user. Everyone's in Slack already. They're already doing their conversations in Slack. Slack gives you the ability to upload a file. So you can upload a file directly in Slack, have it go to the AI platform, which is our base data plus your organization's data, and then come back to you where you're already working. If your customers are working in Jira or people are working in Jira, same thing. Visual Studio Code is another standard tool in the Salesforce ecosystem. So having that ability to go where your users are, I believe, really helps us with that. With the ease of use that you were mentioning, and then looking at that dollar of AI investment for $5, well, cutting that down so that not only are you not having so much cost on the change management side, but your resistance to this change and implemented AI will be lower.
Makes a huge amount of sense, Sanjay. So
yeah, great point. That this was a statistic that also blows my mind when I saw it. It's $1 to $5.
Yes, yeah.
And I would add that besides the fact that we should go to where user is to try to keep the experience as common and as similar to the previous one, what we're looking at this right now. So I'm gonna give you an example of like vacation. So how we deploy like our applications for vacation. And before you have to fill a form, and then we say, well, sometimes people doesn't know if they can fill a form because they don't know how many days they have left for vacation or PTO. Then they go to Slack, and we took it to the Slack agent, and the agent, you can ask, how many days I have left, and said you have 10 days, you want to take those days off, and you go and take. Now what we're doing is, it should be not triggered by your action. It should be even easier than that. So what we're doing is we're integrating, we have an iPaaS application, and so we have over 250 native connectors. We integrated with our system that has the number of days that everyone has. And if there's someone with like more than 30 days of vacation, and the system detects, the agent detects that you haven't taken any vacation in the last 2 years, it like proactively goes to the employee and say, hey, Sobhan, it's been 2 years, you don't take any vacation. Why don't you take some vacation?
Really
and sometimes like the person doesn't even thought about it. And so it's not only about going to where user is, but it sometimes predict what user wants and then took it to an agentic workflow to solve it.
Can I respond to that real quick?
absolutely.
I think one of the things that you're hitting on is this whole concept that 2 years ago it was all about prompt engineering, right? And you got to figure out the right way to prompt the system. And hey, I didn't get the right prompt, so I didn't get the expected output. So I'm going to sit there, I'm going to tweak the prompt, and so on and so forth. I was just talking with our CEO Ted yesterday, and we were just going back and forth and trying to figure out this prompt. And when we nailed it, we were like super excited. But I think where it is going is it's really about how do you prompt the user. How do you prompt the user to say, hey, this is what you need to do today. Hey, this changed last night, right? So you might have remote delivery teams, right? This changed last night in the business. So those user stories that were prioritized yesterday, they're not prioritized anymore. So you just show up and it prompts you, whether it's Slack or Jira or a custom interface that says, hey, this is what you need to do today. So this whole concept of prompting the user and telling the user what they need to do, I believe will really help drive that productivity. So people are always focused on the right things, cutting down this back and forth, communication that ends up slowing things down.
Very nice. I'm glad we got so much out of that question on vendor agnosticism. Had a lot of back and forth. It was very nice. Another question for both of you is particularly in the context of low-code, no-code tools and workflow automation. What's your vision for what the future looks like with AI? Like maybe even kind of thinking beyond work. What's kind of the world that you imagine for children or your grandchildren that that AI could facilitate? And it seems reasonable to me that things like workflow automation, low-code, no-code tools could be a big part of that big vision.
I can start. So when we saw no-code getting into play, we saw at the beginning, when you look at the workflow automation subject as a whole, there were only very critical workflows that were automated because it requires a lot of coding. It requires a lot of effort. The change management was huge. And sometimes those processes were going out of a paper or from legacy systems and going to some more robust systems. When no codes came to play, we saw like many long tail workflows getting a space to be automatized or being subject of some focus of the team. And I guess the number of the A-curve long tails compared to the long tail that came in place with the no code was like some orders of magnitude. I would say like we have clients that start using it for very important workflows, and then like very, very simple workflows that would never be in the table to be discussed. Like let's make the workflow for coffee delivery in an event automatic. Nobody would talk about it if you have to code it. And then with no code, they did it. When we look at the future with AI, and now you can basically make a process into an agent by just conversation prompting and telling what you want to automate. You can use like copilots to do integration with your tech stack. We see things that we don't even imagine getting automation in it and getting AI making a major play in it. So I think that the future, when we look for workflow automation moving forward, is that we will have agents replacing workflows in many places. We'll have agents helping workflows that are really complex. And we'll have agents in places that we never thought like someone could be placing automation and efficiency. So I would say like the level of efficiency that we had moving from code to no code, if it was like 100 times, we're probably going to have like 1,000 times more with the AI moving forward.
Very nice. Great vision. I love it.
So my vision is a little bit broader. If you think about 50, 75, 100 years from now, all of these systems will be there. They'll be in place, right? Like if we take a look back at 25 years ago, right, we had the internet. Then built on top of the internet, the hyperscalers came, right? And then so on and so forth. This will continue to build in a very similar way. But if you look at what humanity has to do, is really make decisions. Humans are really good at rationalization. Humans are really good at kicking the can on making decisions. But once that decision is made, and that commitment and that follow through is really where the execution happens, and then that's really where, whether it's business or your personal life, that next step can happen. And I believe people want to make the best decision they possibly can, but they don't have the information they need to make that decision. Now, where I believe AI is going to be pervasive in people's lives is you won't even note it, but what you'll be able to do is it's going to help you make those decisions. Now, it might make a decision for you, and those decisions will have a low threshold of impact, right? What should I eat today? right? Well, it's going to tell you, like, Sanjay, you should have Chinese food. But as those decisions get to be bigger, you can always override those decisions. You have the ability to say, you know what, great, I want to go do this. But I really believe this AI is going to help human beings really make decisions a lot faster. Even if the decision is wrong, making the decision quickly helps human beings because they don't lose the time. The longer you wait to make a decision, you lose the time, and time is something you can never get back. Because we live in this world where there is this concept of time that you can't get back, being able to make those decisions faster, even if they might not be the right decision, I believe is really where you'll see the impact of AI in the future.
Very cool. I like that a lot. All right, let's move to some audience questions. I'm done with mine. We've got a few here. If you are in the audience and would like to add some more, we'll try to squeeze them in. Let's start off with the one at the top here, which is, what are the metrics you'd recommend to measure the return on investment of AI initiatives? Anyone want to take a crack at that one?
Yeah, I mean, I can take a crack at this one. I think this question is a good one because I believe, you know, you have to frame that question within context. So if you take a look at the AI initiatives, the AI initiatives are all around some sort of business process or some sort of application, right? So if that business process is, say, a software delivery, you know, is how lead time, right? That's a metric that you can measure. How quickly can you get code, and with quality as well, right? So you can leverage the DORA metrics. Say, hey, our DORA metrics are improving. Support was a use case that I had mentioned, right? Cost per case is what we use from a financial standpoint. You know, NPS is another one. So when you think about the AI initiatives, it really maps back to what are those business metrics and how can you either maintain or exceed your current metrics. That's the way I look at it because it's all about business process.
Yeah, I would add that we usually, when we start deploying some features on AI, we look for the core capabilities the product has and those things that we want to do it better in the product. So one of the things that we always measure is the ability of our customers to create their own workflows. The first feature we deployed was a Copilot for workflow building, which was a text to workflow. You basically say what you're trying to solve, and it builds the whole modeling of the workflow, the automations within. And when we start measuring, the KPI of the initiative was how many workflows were created per day using the Copilot and how those workflows performed in terms of a longevity into our processes compared to those created by humans. So this was a way of measuring. The other thing is we also deploy features. We are a consumption-based. Our revenue, our pricing strategy, it's based on consumption. So we deployed some features with AI that they were more expensive, but they made things 10 times easier. So they were twice more expensive than non-AI features, but it makes 10 times faster whatever you're going to do. For example, an automation. An automation with AI made things 10 times faster than automation without AI. So there, we actually measured not only the time, but also the revenue coming from those things. So I don't think it's a wrong thing to look at the revenue sometimes when you're deploying some AI automation because AI features, because we also know that AI costs a lot of money in terms of tokens. It's decreasing, but it's infrastructure, high cost to deploy depending on the application.
Nice. We've got 3 questions still to go here and only a minute, so we're going to do a lightning round where we're just going to have, you know, kind of one of you answer, I guess, and give the shortest kind of response you can imagine. So we've got one here. For enterprises, what are the integration challenges to be aware of with no-code platforms and AI, particularly with legacy systems? Yeah,
I can take this one, yeah. So I think with legacy systems, it's APIs. So being able to leverage robotic automation, if you have robotic automation, any RPA, we believe you can with no-code platforms, you can achieve a lot with legacy systems.
Very nice, very cool. All right, and then our next one here is, how can companies ensure governance and security while still encouraging low-code, no-code development across departments?
Yeah, I can take this one. So it's basically, I think, how you're going to deploy and apply your foundational model, because the short answer is always, I want to apply foundational models into everything I have. So I would say prepare your data, make it work in a governance within context that you want to have, and then apply the foundational models. So I guess this is the short answer.
Very cool. All right, and we are just out of time, but we're going to squeeze this one in anyway because it's a simple question. So the question is, where do you think AI agents will be at this time next year? You should both take a crack at this one, I think, because it's really interesting.
Yeah, a lot further than the way they are. I think you'll start to see a lot more business processes and a lot more companies start to adopt them. This year, we've seen a lot of the companies kind of jump in front. Some of our customers jump in front and take advantage of it. But you'll be able to see a lot more business processes, and AI agents will be a little bit more pervasive than it is today.
Thanks, Sanjay. Sobhan?
I would say it'll be very fun to deploy agents, and we're gonna see a bunch of first timers that never did a automation, a workflow or anything, trying their first digital transformation activity, building agents. It'll be fun and easy.
Very nice. Love those answers. Thank you for doing that lightning round alongside me. Thanks to both of you, Sanjay Gidwani, Copado COO, and Sobhan Daliry, Pipefy CPO. Really appreciate you taking the time, and thank you for the audience's attention all day today at ScaleUp AI. We really appreciate it. Thank you for hanging with us right to this very final session on revolutionizing workflow automation with low-code, no-code tools. I hope you have an awesome rest of your day.